Okay, well, I'm just completing a screen recording for my first evaluation question. In what way does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? Well, first of all, I believe my real media product first uses forms and conventions of horror movies through a storyline. Todorov's theory, in which a movie had an equilibrium point in which everything was calm and then somehow disrupted, then another reinforcement of disruption. He explains this through his theory. I believe that I've developed almost or used the conventions and forms of real media products, being Todorov's theory, by doing so with my own. Here I have the woman waking up in the house, fairly unsettled, but except that's pretty calm and collected. There's an equilibrium point in which everything is at one level, and then there's the scene in which she finds the blood, and there's the dripping blood coming from her nose, which I can find over here. And that was one scene in which you find her disrupt. That's the first point of disruption where she feels that there is something wrong, and that's the first call of disruption in the movie. My media product is simplistic, and yeah, it's the blood story area. Another way in which I think I've developed real media products, and especially the subgenre of media. The subgenre of horror, is through the institutions I used. As we can see in my institution, I used Bloomhouse. Now, Bloomhouse are an institution which help produce real horror media products. This is why I thought it would be sensible to use them for my titles and my opening scene, seeing as this is a horror movie itself. I thought it'd be quite sensible to use. I also used Film 4, as they also help to get British media films out there. So yeah, I think that's another way in which I've done so. And again, just using um, sorry, just using media conventions again, stuff like match on action. It's not very hard, but it's just it's kind of it helps you do stuff. It helps you create a real sense of a media product. So here is just a quick preliminary task in which we had to create a match on action. It was almost a James Bond scene, me running down the stairs and then out into the playground. And I just had to mirror this. I had to use my skills of filming and editing to create the scene, which I'll show you here, of my younger sister walking from my room, in fact, to the bathroom. So here we have her leaving the room. I matched on action to the point she's walking over. And then again now, when she's walking in, and now we see her feet coming in, just about, and then closing behind her. That's just a simple explanation of match on action and how I think it uses and develops media products as they do that themselves. And also, using non-diegetic sound, horror movie products themselves, they have background sound which is meant to create emphasis and have the audience feeling a certain type of way. I've actually used, if I can just show you now, quite obvious soundtracks just to really get that feel and have that effect on the audience. As you can see, I had all of these in, apart from Smashing Wine Glass, I had all of these there anyways, but just here unavailable to actually embed into the links and embed them into here. I've actually got the classic horror that was playing in the background, and after the scene and where she has the one-on-one in the mirror, we have the apprehension. This sets this calm level, which I think kind of develops the media product after like the first sort of disruption. And obviously the horror crazy people, it's the people screaming and shouting as she's looking in the mirror and just looking into her own eyes, kind of getting lost in a second world. And yeah, also mainly developing the developing conventions of media products is actually through my character. If I can just show you my character profile right now, we can actually see that I've used the stereotypical character for a horror movie. So we have white, blue eyes, blonde, portrayed as innocent or being frantic, and always a victim, always an innocent victim within a horror movie. That's why I thought using this as and developing this with my media product would be the best to get the best reaction out of the audience, and really relate it to the horror conventions and subgenre of my movie. So, I think that was one good way in which I did so, and I can just show you here. If I skip to this point in the edit, we see we have my sister. She is white. She fits the description perfectly, which is why I thought it would be she'd suit the storyline well. The innocent girl waking up in the home, first call of disruption, finding blood dripping from her nose, which actually, in fact, is not there. As we can see, she looks up here and she wipes it, and it's actually not there. I think that's one way in which I was able to develop real media products. And yeah, I mean, the one way in which I challenge real media products is if I can just show you, for example, the lighting that I chose to have in my house during filming. And just find this quickly. Often, like for example here, horror movies, they're set in dark, deep locations in which that's one of the main things people are scared of is the dark. So it would make sense to have all those scary factors played off on each other. Whereas I thought, to really kind of make a psychological difference to my horror movie, I should do it as plain as possible. So odd stuff happening in the most simplistic scenarios. So for example, I've chosen to have a lot of lighting. I haven't actually used my kitchen, in fact, within my scene, but that would have appeared later on along the storyline. But yeah, the strong lighting, I think, actually challenges real media products, forms and conventions. As often you don't see a lot of light within horror movies because it's kind of deemed as a safe zone almost. So I think all of this bright light here, it all kind of it makes it a bit eerie for the audience. We're not quite sure if it's disrupted or we're in a place of equilibrium. Here, look, bright lights. And then we can actually use the bright light in a ways of saying this is abnormal as it's getting so bright, which was in fact not intended and natural, but I've decided to keep to. And also cutting and editing the flashing of the lights to portray an odd circumstance and really mark the stage. But yeah. Plus my audience, often with psychological movies, you would decide to have quite a mature and adult audiences. They'd actually be able to understand and really kind of comprehend what's going on in the movie. Whereas here, I've decided to go for a sort of a younger target audience who are still mature, still able to comprehend what's going on and understand it, but it's not the stereotypical sort of blood and guts. I've said it here as well, blood and guts sort of horror movie. It's one that kind of needs an older audience, but also young, who can still relate to the young girl who's inside and stuck on her own. And yeah, that's just one way, I think, or a few ways in fact I think I've developed, used and challenged forms of media conventions. And yeah, hope that was okay.